Welcome, guys, to How the Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack we got here, that's all we believe in. We go after the lefts, we go after the rights, we go after the middle and independents, we go after all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything, and you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion, and that's what we try to do here at How the Frack we got here. Thanks for listening, and hold on, it's gonna be fun.
To reimburse states for the cost of the Biden-Harris administration's open border policies. No state suffered more than Texas. Fentanyl, drug and human trafficking, violent crime, stress on local emergency response services caused substantial damage to my district, to our state, to my constituents. This was an assassination and a murder. It was not an accident, despite my colleagues saying that it was an accident. It was a murder and an assassination of a National Guard hero. So what other types of threats are you tracking and preventing from happening?
Yeah, I would say, sir, that we face the terrorist
tactics, techniques, and procedures could be that we need to stay alert of.
Honestly, the attacks of October 7th, the decentralized and just barbaric nature of that is the new terrorist playbook. They're not looking necessarily for a spectacular attack like we had on 9/11, but targets of opportunity like we tragically saw with the terrorist attack in Washington, D.C., these smaller cells or even individual operatives taking action. That's what has us very concerned, combined with just the sheer volume.
My time has expired. Secretary, thank you for your commitment to reimburse Texas. I yield back.
Gentleman's time's expired. I now recognize the gentleman from Rhode Island, Mr. Magaziner, for 5 minutes of questions.
Madam Secretary, how many United States military veterans have you deported?
Sir, we have not deported U.S. citizens or military veterans.
I don't believe you served in the military. I haven't either, but I think you and I can agree that as Americans, we owe everything to those who have served our country in uniform, particularly those who have served in combat. Do you agree with that?
Sir, I believe that people that are in this United States that are citizens have legal status here.
Madam Secretary, we are joined on Zoom by a gentleman named Se-Jun Park. He is a United States Army combat veteran who was shot twice while serving our country in Panama in 1989. Like many veterans, he struggled with PTSD and substance abuse after his service. He was arrested in the 1990s for some minor drug offenses, nothing serious. He never hurt anyone besides himself, and he's been clean and sober for 14 years. He is a combat veteran, a Purple Heart recipient. He has sacrificed more for this country than most people ever have. Earlier this year, you deported him to Korea, a country he hasn't lived in since he was 7 years old. Will you join me in thanking Mr. Park for his service to our country?
Sir, I'm grateful for every single person that has served our country and follows our laws.
Can you please tell Mr. Park why you deported him?
Every one of them needs to be enforced.
But you understand that many veterans struggle with PTSD, many veterans struggle with substance abuse challenges. This man took 2 bullets for our country. You have broad authority, by the way, as Secretary, to issue humanitarian parole, to do deferred action. Will you commit to at least looking at Mr. Park's case to see if you can help him find a pathway back to this country that he sacrificed so much for?
I will absolutely look at his case, but I want you to remember that
Madam Secretary, the man behind you, please stand up, sir. His name is Jim Brown from Troy, Missouri. He is a Navy combat veteran who served our country in the Gulf War. He's married to a woman named Donna, who came to our country legally from Ireland when she was 11 years old. She has lived here for 48 years. Because of you, Jim's wife, Donna, has been in prison for the last 4 months. She did not come here illegally, and she has never committed any crime other than writing 2 bad checks totaling $80 10 years ago. She is currently in prison and facing deportation. Ms. Noem, will you thank Mr. Brown for his service to our country?
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for your service to our country.
Now, what possible explanation can there be for locking up his wife for 4 months when she has committed no crime other than writing a couple of bad checks for $80?
Sir, it is not my prerogative, my latitude, or my job to pick and choose which laws in this country get enforced.
You have
and
broad
which ones
discretion
don't.
as the secretary.
We need to follow
You can issue
the law
parole. You
and
can do all
enforce
kinds
the
of things,
laws.
but you're choosing not to. Will you commit again to just reviewing Donna's case and reuniting this combat veteran with his beloved wife, who also loves this country?
I will review the case.
Now, Madam Secretary, you've already heard the story of Lance Corporal Alejandro Barranco, the United States Marine veteran who is behind you, who also has two brothers who are United States Marines. Will you thank Lance Corporal Barranco for his service?
Thank you for your service.
His father, Narcisco Barranco, is a landscaper in California who has lived peacefully in our country for 30 years and has no criminal record. Last spring, while he was mowing the lawn at an IHOP, ICE agents tackled him in the street and imprisoned him for weeks. A peaceful, hard-working man who raised 3 sons to be United States Marines. We need men of that character in this country. Again, as Secretary, you have broad discretion. Will you consider Lance Corporal Barranco's father for parole in place to stay in our country, owing to the fact that he has contributed to our country by raising 3 United States Marines?
This is an opportunity to remind everybody that every person that's in this country illegally has an opportunity to voluntarily go home and come back the right way.
He
Follow
raised
our
3
laws,
United
and
States
we will
Marines.
facilitate that.
He has been living here
But-
peacefully, doing his job for 30 years. You have discretion. You are choosing not to use it. Madam Secretary, you promised America that you would go after the worst of the worst. But these people are not the worst of the worst. A Purple Heart recipient, a military spouse, the father of 3 Marines. And it's not just veterans and military families. You are locking up and deporting children with cancer, mothers with babies in the NICU, United States citizens. There are many problems with your leadership, but the biggest problem is this. You don't seem to know how to tell the difference between the good guys and the bad guys. Go after the bad guys. Go after the terrorists. Do not go after veterans, Marines, children,
Gentleman's
United
time's
States
expired.
citizens. I yield
Gentleman's
back.
time's expired.
I'm sorry. I know that was a little long, but that ass whooping needed to happen to Kristi Noem, because damn, she was so ready to be on the vibe. Because let's be honest, whenever it comes to these committees wanting testimony from higher ups, some of it Republicans, you ass kiss. You always ass kiss. Let's just be honest, you do. But shout out to that man. Who decided that, he decided that today you're gonna hear it. Today you're going to hear it. And even more so, 3 separate cases where she's like, I don't know. I deer in headlights. Really, Ice Barbie? Really, Miss Never Misses a Photo Op? Really, Miss I am all about making sure our borders are secure? Really, bitch? And I say bitch because Marsha Blackburn's a bitch. Kristi Noem's a bitch. I said it and I stand on it. With that being said, guys, welcome now to the Frack We Got Here. Podcast that we always do, guys, that tries to give you all the news without the bullshit. At the same time, keeping things straight. We are a news podcast, which means we do pride ourselves on that, only citing from reputable sources with award-winning journalism. We do not do sensational news like Fox News, The Blaze, now CBS, wherever you get your extreme left, extreme right views from. We simply don't do that. We provide nothing but the facts. At the same time, guys, we do try to maintain our language, but words fly, and we do show things that might be too intense for younger viewers, so viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. So I would be remiss because, yes, we know right now this fool's talking. We do know that. Do we care? We really shouldn't, because I'm going to go ahead and sum this up for you guys. Because right now this is live, because unfortunately Taco is speaking from the White House, half of it because the East Wing is gone, as he is literally trying to turn it into a victory lap. I am not going to do this to you guys. There's really nothing here of substance. He will take a victory lap, especially after the fact that what the Republicans were able to pull off today in the House. He'll probably bring up Venezuela, talking about probably possible military action. But let's be honest, Venezuela is sitting on the largest oil reserve in the world, more than the Saudi Arabia and the U.S. combined. So I wouldn't be surprised if he turns around and says Venezuela needs some freedom. beyond that, the war on drugs, the borders, immigrants, blaming Biden, blaming Obama, we've all heard this same thing before. So I'm going to be honest with you guys, I will honestly spare you of that. We are not going, we'll go back. I'm pretty sure PolitiFact and everybody else is going to fact check that. You're not going to miss anything off that bat. So we're just going to get away from that because let's be honest, Taco's trying to do victory runs right now, especially at the fact that he needs all the Epstein distractions he can get. Especially going after the fact of the recently departed Rob Reiner and his family, because, Taco has taken it upon himself to make it known how he feels about certain people and somehow how it always involves him.
This morning, President Trump defending his attacks on renowned actor and director Rob Reiner, who, along with his wife Michelle, was brutally murdered over the weekend. On social media just one day after the attack, the president linking Reiner's murder to his activism and criticism of him, saying Reiner had a massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome. There is no evidence connecting the murders to Reiner's political views. Within hours of that post, several Republican lawmakers denouncing the president's words. Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massey writing, "This is inappropriate and disrespectful discourse about a man who was just brutally murdered." Former Trump ally Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene writing, "This is a family tragedy, not about politics or political enemies." But when asked about that criticism, the president doubled down.
He became like a deranged person, Trump derangement syndrome. So I was not a fan of Rob Reiner at all in any way, shape, or form. I thought he was very bad for our country.
Democrats say the president's comments stand in sharp contrast to what he and other Republicans said after the brutal murder of conservative activist and Trump ally Charlie Kirk in September. Massachusetts Congressman Seth Moulton accusing the president of celebrating the Reiner's deaths because of their political views, saying it's, quote, the exact same behavior that Republicans complained about after Charlie Kirk's assassination. Days after Kirk was shot, Vice President J.D. Vance called for anyone who celebrated Kirk's death to lose their job.
The First Amendment protects a lot of very ugly speech, but if you celebrate Charlie Kirk's death, you should not be protected from being fired for being a disgusting person.
A spokesperson for Turning Point USA, the organization Kirk founded, sharing this video of Reiner condemning political violence, saying Rob Reiner responded with grace and compassion to Charlie's assassination.
It's beyond belief what happened to him, and that should never happen to anybody. I don't care what your political beliefs are. That's not acceptable. That's not a solution to solving problems.
They added that Reiner's response in that moment makes it all more painful to hear of he and his wife's tragic end.
And it wasn't just lawmakers criticizing the president, even several conservative voices and influencers who are typically in lockstep with the president, speaking out against those comments, one even calling it shameful. But again, when asked directly about that criticism, the president only digging in, Rebecca.
Of course he only digged in. Why? Well, because it's Taco. It has to be about him. It has to. Rob Reiner had Trump derangement syndrome. He was very bad for America. No, you're terrible for America. Rob Reiner actually was quite the activist. Actually spoke out for LGBTQ rights, for progressive rights, for women's rights. He was really a guy that just wanted everybody to be equal and use his platform to actually do so. And the simple fact of the matter is, yes, it is messed up about the situation between him and, I explained about his son having issues and that entire case. But what I find interesting is that when, of course, Charlie Kirk, who I don't know why he is being celebrated like he's the second coming of Martin Luther King or some shit. I remember people losing their jobs because of what they say on their personal social medias about Charlie Kirk. People losing their jobs over not feeling bad that, he was shuffled off this mortal coil in the most brutalized way. I remember folks getting in their feelings. How do you feel bad? A mother, and now his child is left fatherless. I remember all of that. Yet the leader, mind you, is out there right now saying, oh, well, he had derangement syndrome. That's why it happened. He had derangement syndrome. And because of that is the reason why he's no longer here. And yet crickets. Crickets. Spare me the selective outrage when I talk about Charlie Kirk, because I've said before, yeah, you know, how he went out is how he went out. But how you died does not absolve you of how you lived, especially when you grifted off the monster that eventually did lead to your end. You grifted and cultivated the monster that led to your end. Sorry, but I don't feel bad for you because you didn't feed Seymour. That being said, again, our condolences to Rob Reiner, to those of his family who are the remaining loved ones, because again, Rob Reiner, amazing treasure. So many stories about that man are coming out, but you know, peace and condolences out to his relatives and living family members. That also being said, like I said, Taco right now is doing a victory run. Why? Well, because of the healthcare package. I'm just going to go ahead and say you guys a trip, because just like we said previously, they were trying, and this all stems from the Hateful Eight. Why do I keep saying Hateful Eight? 8 Democrats decided to join the House. And keep in mind, this is all during the time of the government shutdown. We were shut down. This is probably if not the second longest shutdown, or the first. It might be the first ever longest shutdown. Either way, 30 plus days, the government was shut down. By the way, representative senators were still getting paid for those 30 days. Federal contractors and workers weren't. But during the last vote, for all you guys that remember or keeping up with the home game, 8 Democratic politicians split from the party and decided to join the Republicans to reopen the government. And here's the thing: they didn't get a guarantee about the ACA subsidies. They didn't get a guarantee about making sure things are going to happen. You know what they got? They got a promise. Oh, a promise. We'll bring that up for a vote, and we'll talk about it. It's not a guarantee we're going to pass everything, but we'll talk about it. Well, they did talk about it, and the vote that just occurred today did not go in the way they thought it would. For the rest of us, all we can sit there and say is, "Mother, we told you so."
Well, good evening, everybody. This is a big night in the House. The Republican Party just delivered on our promises once again. We passed a big and important health care bill that will bring down the cost of health care. The Lower Premiums for All Americans Act does exactly what the title suggests. It will reduce premiums for all Americans by, on average, at least 11% overall. And that's just the beginning. There will be much more to come, more ideas in the first part of next year to bring down the cost of health care. And what the bill did in addition to that tonight is it increases the quality of care, the access to care. It gives persons more options, more flexibility in their health care. And also it adds transparency. We had the PBM, Pharmacy Benefit Manager transparency piece to it as well. Now contrast that with the Democrats' COVID era subsidy that they wanted to extend. That would only impact 7% of Americans. The bill we just passed impacts 100% of Americans. Their version would impact 7% of Americans, and it would cost taxpayers $350 billion. That is not the way to reduce the cost of health care. The Democrats do not want a solution they just demonstrated because they voted against this bill. They want an issue for the election. It is based on a false narrative. The Democrats broke America's healthcare system. When they gave us the ACA, the Unaffordable Care Act, 15 years ago, they promised that premiums would come down, that access would increase, and quality of healthcare would increase. None of that happened because it's a flawed system. Their response right now is to subsidize and continue to shovel taxpayer dollars onto a broken system. We say enough is enough. The Republican Party is the party that is bringing the ideas forward to fix this crisis and fix this problem for everyone. It is a serious problem. We took a big step tonight to do that. We hope that this gets signed into law quickly because it will have the desired effect. We hope the Senate can get this done in short order. We'll be back in January to do much more of this, more policies, more ideas ahead, policy changes to fix the broken healthcare system again that was broken by the Democrats. So I'm glad the Republicans stood together tonight. Big night for us. We'll have another day on the legislative floor tomorrow, and then we will probably wind up the year. So I wanted you to have that update.
So you let this up.
Okay, so let me go ahead and just, as I get annoyed every time I see it's been Day-Ho talk because Mike Johnson is really a piece of shit, pardon my French. But there's some things that he missed about this plan. And the things that I kind of want to point out, because again, if you want to read the bill, it's available right now on Congress.gov. The Lower Healthcare Premiums for All Americans Act, it's actually out there for the world to see. It really is. At the same time, the Congressional Budget Office did do a summary about the budgetary effects, saying, and to a certain extent, would estimate that enacting the bill would reduce the deficit by almost nearly 36 billion over the 2026-2035 period. So a little matter of 6, 9, a little almost 10 years. Here's the problem. Enacting the bill, which he kind of just glossed over a little bit, and I apologize, my camera decided that it was time to cut out. But here's the thing that he's not saying, folks. The thing that he's not saying is that in order to save nearly 36 billion, you basically are saying, hey, it would decrease the number of people with health insurance by an average of 100,000 over the 2027 to 2025 period, and lower benchmark premiums by 11% on average through 2035. So what does that mean? Well, that means that, number one, because you're not extending the ACA premium subsidies, that means that which again, these credits were put in place to make premiums affordable for many Americans. Without that 100,000 can almost become millions that will lose coverage, because again, premiums would shoot up. Because again, that's the thing that Mike Johnson and his bunch of idiots are not saying. Because this lower healthcare premiums, the premiums will be lowered at a certain percent of people. While again, without extending the ACA, which again, for all those that don't know, the ACA is an act, a law that basically says you have to make healthcare available to all, regardless of previous conditions, regardless of any ailments, things of that nature. It has to be available for them. No, you cannot charge them higher for these ailments, and that they should have coverage. That's what the Affordable Care Act was for. The premium, the actual subsidies were put in to make sure that others can be covered, which meant that at the time was supposed to raise taxes on the rich to actually pay for those subsidies. But since Taco's been back in office, since his big beautiful bill has been put in place, since his tax breaks for the rich have now been increased, those subsidies are now gone. The same thing that Mike Johnson forgets to say in that little speech, or that little victory lap that he half-assed did. At the same time, it increases uninsured rates, because again, if you are insured, you will be paying more. And now, because this lower healthcare premiums for all Americans Act, it will increase uninsured rates. And there may be health plans that might be increased, but those healthcare plans may not have essential health benefits, preventative care. So, for example, those healthcare plans they talk about that might be available may not have mental health services, may not have maternity care, may not have preventative health like screening, shots, cleanings. If you go to dental, for dental, if you go to cleanings, annual exams that are usually covered for physical things of that nature may not be included in that, because again, Republicans didn't care. They are trying to cut everything out and call it a deal. At the same time, also with this plan they put in place, it will shift healthcare costs from insurers and employers to you. So again, it's amazing. Your cost burdens will not be covered by insurers and employers. They will be covered by you, which means, guess what? Higher out-of-pocket costs and coverage gaps are going to happen. So if you think your healthcare plan doesn't cover shit now, wait till if that goes into effect, if that passes the Senate, what do you think is going to happen? Exactly that. And premium spikes are going to happen now. Why? Because the ACA subsidies did not get the increase they did. So as we've been saying on this podcast and other news have been saying this, your premiums will increase, all but guaranteed to increase. So let's think about this for a second. No extension of ACA credits, higher uninsured rates, plans offer next to nothing. The cost of the burden of cost will actually shift to you. At the same time, not addressing affordability issues, and nobody asked for this. And yet, that is the lower healthcare premiums for all American Act in a nutshell. The same thing that Mike Johnson and them are trying to say is a victory lap. It is not. It is a dumpster fire that is heading to the Senate. And if it does pass the Senate, Taco has already sat there and said that he'll sign it, which ultimately would actually kill the ACA law, kill the ACA and Obamacare. Congratulations, Republicans. If that gets past the Senate, you will have officially killed whatever degree of healthcare that we had in this country. At the same time, good luck in the midterms, because people are not going to understand this now until they need medical attention, or until they need to go to the doctor, until they need to go to a dentist, or until they need to go to a specialist, or until they try to get surgery and things of that nature. Medical debt, because again, medical debt was on credit reports. It's now back on there now. It's almost as if Republicans are trying to squeeze the last juices out of an already dead horse, meaning us. But again, tell me I'm wrong, because that's their plan in a nutshell. Their concept of a plan that they haven't had for almost 2 presidential terms now. And yet under Taco, voila, bullshit. But moving right along, guys, we keep talking about these presidential pardons that Taco is doing, where I keep on saying he's not drained the swamp. He's just basically refilling it for the next tour. Well, yeah, let's go ahead and get to it. So Tina Peters, this woman that you see here, was involved. She was one of the ones that was saying that there's the conspiracy against Taco when he was running, and that we're going to find out election interference. Turns out that she was basically trying to do it herself as a Mesa County court clerk. Now, for all those who don't remember, she did get caught. She was about to face jail. Taco pardoned her. Again, it never ceases to amaze me. And the reason why, for all those that are wondering what happened, she gave access to election software to somebody from the MyPillow group. You know that Mike Trindell guy, MyPillow, thought he could be a part of Taco's cabinet. Then he found out everything went to hell. Now he's running back for governor and some shit. Anyway, somebody in his group, she gave election software access to. A big ass no. And she was about to do jail time for it. But no, Taco said, wait, I will pardon her. And when asked in public, did he know Tina Peters? I'd never heard of that woman. I've never heard of that woman. Yet everybody, and I point this out, everybody Taco has pardoned so far, got their due process, was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and was judged by their peers. There was nothing unfair why they wound up in jail or was going to jail. And now Taco is pretty much, he's not draining the swamp. He's refilling it with his own people. Because as we said in this podcast, and we've been saying this now before Taco even got the second shot at it, you don't want to see Trump 2.0. Because Trump 2.0 has learned from his mistakes. And now we've seen what happens now when you give somebody another shot. But moving right along, guys, I wanted to cover this as well because I'm pretty sure Taco's talking about this as an address, especially when it comes to Venezuela, because, well, if you thought us going to Iraq under false intelligence was bullshit, I feel bad for all those in the armed forces right now.
Meanwhile, Russia's voicing support for President Nicolas Maduro from Venezuela. In a Telegram post, the Kremlin says Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke to President Maduro by phone recently, and that Putin expressed support for Maduro's policy of, quote, protecting national interests and sovereignty in the face of growing external pressure. Former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, retired General Wesley Clark, is here with more on this. General Clark, thank you for joining us. What do you make of this video of the tanker being seized?
I think it's a classic operation. This is the kind of thing practiced many times. We've been looking in counterterrorism operations since the 1980s when the Achille Lauro was seized in the Mediterranean by terrorists. So it's one of the standard cases that our counterterrorism forces work with. And obviously, these are Coast Guard troops. So I'm sure they've done this and they're training. These are well trained. They're coming out of the helicopters or fast roping down to the deck. They're going to get control of the tanker by heading to wherever the captain is. They're armed, of course, because you would expect that there be some small arms or some kind of protection, these people. But the fact that the helicopters are there, I'm sure there were radio messages sent and so forth. The crew is intimidated. There were no casualties. There was no shooting that we know of. But it was done in a lawful manner. So I think it shows a lot of expertise on the part of the Coast Guard and the Navy working with them.
So how significant is this move by the U.S.?
I think it's one more notch up the ratchet, putting pressure on Maduro. I'm sure this is not the only tanker that's been going back and forth, but they do turn off their location devices. Sometimes they're hard to see. This one we should be getting all of them, and we've got them sanctioned. Collect them, and we should be going against the Russian fleet as well, which is the same kind of operation in which vessels turn off their identification. They're illegally transporting oil. They've been sanctioned. They should be detained. What happens to the oil? Usually it's sold. In this case, the oil would probably be sold, probably $150 million worth of oil on that ship, depending on if it's full and what the quality of the oil is. And then that money is deposited in seized assets accounts in the U.S. Treasury.
Now Venezuela is calling this theft and piracy. Do you expect any kind of response?
Well, I mean, they would say something, Maduro would, but, he knows what the sanction regime is. He's just working against us on this. So, I agree with the concerns. We don't want to get in a big land conflict with Venezuela. Maduro is a problem in the hemisphere. So many millions have fled from Venezuela because of its mismanagement. It's caused dislocation in the economies in Colombia and Peru. It's forced migrants into the United States, and all the Central American countries are dealing with this. It's been going on for several years now. And he broke his pledge that if we lifted sanctions last year, he would permit a democratic election. So he's a nuisance in the hemisphere. We don't like the Russian interference there, the Iranians, the connections. It's a threat in the hemisphere, but it's a marginal threat. And I can't help but looking over to Europe and seeing what's going on in Ukraine, the pressure we're putting on Zelensky to make an agreement and how consequential that will be. Because if something were to happen in Ukraine, it would destabilize all of Europe. And really, they're our major trading and investment partner in the world. Europe is.
All right, former NATO Supreme.
So I'll say it like this, folks. Is anybody getting the same thing? Oh, the president there, he's not doing what he said he would do. The fact that he's doing illegal trading. The fact that Venezuela has the largest oil reserve in the world and we would like to have that. I am just saying, guys, for the simple fact of the matter, and I'm pretty sure Taco, if he hasn't already said it in his speech already, we're going to actually start looking at military actions. Our Secretary of War, which, by the way, I hate the fact, just side note, Never Sober Pete Hegseth is the Secretary of Defense. We don't have a Department of War because that would mean that Congress would have to approve a name change to a department. Since it's never happened, and yet Hegseth decided, I'm just going to call myself Secretary of War. No, yo punk ass, you're still the Secretary of Defense. Your department is still Department of Defense. But that being said, it seems like we're now about to head toward military action toward Venezuela. For all those in the armed forces, thank you for your service. But God, I feel bad. I feel for y'all. Y'all know if y'all are coming or going under this guy. And at the same time, why are we invading Venezuela? Why? And I'm not saying he said it. I'm just saying hypothetically. Why even look in the direction of that country unless that country has something you want? And like I said, Venezuela is sitting on the largest oil reserve in the world, bigger than Saudi Arabia and the U.S. combined. That's how big that oil reserve is. And again, have we not seen it from Iraq, to where we went in under the false pretenses, we got to get Saddam Hussein, and we left oil refineries there. Our military defended more oil refineries than they did looking for insurgents. You don't think the same shit's going to happen in Venezuela? Oh, well, Venezuela needs some freedom as we're helping ourselves to their oil reserves. Like I said, I'm just throwing it out there. I would not be surprised if and when they announce military action toward that country. Just saying. Moving right along, guys. If you want to travel, new things about needing to travel, because now people have to see, well, for certain travel areas, they want to see your social media. I cannot make this up.
Well, sending memes might not be so funny anymore, at least for travelers looking to visit the U.S. The Trump administration says it could soon require visitors to submit 5 years of social media history. And if they find something they don't like, you could be barred from entering. Currently, citizens from countries participating in the visa waiver program, including the UK, Germany, and Australia, must register online and pay $40 before they're okay to travel to the United States for up to 90 days. But according to the federal registrar, the new rule would not only require applicants to share their social media, but undergo a more detailed examination of their history, including the names of family members and where they live, and a selfie of themselves. Let's bring in our Christian Cordero. All right, so this could be really interesting. Let's talk more about this new rule and what more it would mean for visitors looking to come to the U.S. What do you think?
Well, there will be a lot of concerns and questions about the specifics of all of it, Kira, but you laid it out really well, right? And this is worth noting that it's up for public comment for 60 days before it is potentially adopted, the new rules. So many of those questions, if not all of them, will come to fruition. But you see the 42 countries that are eligible for the visa waiver program right now. It's most of Europe, certainly Western Europe. Australia, Japan, Singapore is among them. And when you look at this list, you know, a few things stand out. One is that the president just last night said that he would like to see more, whether it's tourism or immigration from certain Scandinavian countries there among those. And then also we think about the World Cup, the Olympics that are both happening under the current administration. And so it'll be interesting to see how this squares with that. But as you can see right there, the new rules that are being proposed include 5 years of social media history submitted, a detailed examination of a person's history, including the names of family members and where they live, and then that selfie that is submitted in addition to registering their passport. The visa waiver program allows countries, tourism rather, from those countries for up to 90 days, and it costs $40 to apply, and that is valid for 2 years. And so this would add another layer on top of that, but there's no doubt here that there's a lot of questions about how practical and legal and ethical this new mandate would be.
And what about private messages?
Yeah, and that's one of the questions, right, that a lot of people would have issue with if they needed to have their social media public. Then how far could the administration go to look at their private messages? But we've seen the administration go so far to say that they are monitoring people who are here for student visas, for example. So this is part of the larger immigration crackdown, whether it's through illegal or legal channels that the administration has vowed to crack down on and add tighter restrictions to. But how it actually plays out, time will tell, because as I mentioned, public comment is open until February.
All I will sit there and say, if you've seen Superstore or you've seen certain Indiana Jones movies, papers, please. What it's okay. How can I put this in? How can I put this and not sound like I'm gonna be a complete dick about this? But you got to be freaking kidding me. That again, for all those that don't know, here's the list: countries eligible for U.S. travel. So if you're from any of this list that you're traveling to the U.S., you have to jump through an additional hoop. The additional hoop of basically let's go to what they asked for. So 5 years social media history. Wait, what? You're telling me that I have to let the U.S. government look at my social media history and determine whether or not I'm okay to come through? Detailed examinations of the person's history, including the names of family members and where they live. That's already included in the passport. That is included. If you travel, it's in the passport. Because if you've never done a passport application, I can tell you off the bat, they are very effing thorough. I should know. I went to the US before Taco took it over. It was still effing thorough. A selfie of themselves, in addition to registering their passport. Your passport has your picture. For all those that don't know, your passport has your picture. That's taken at the time that you submit the application. Why do you need an effing selfie? And I'm going to tell you why they're doing this. They're doing this mainly because of what happened with the issue with the National Guard, with those guards being killed, because they allowed a person through their checkpoint that was, let's be honest, had darker intentions, but it happened under Taco's administration. So where Taco's going to say, oh, no, he was under Biden. He got radicalized under Biden. But he came back here under you. Even more so that, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I can't outside of work. If I'm outside the U.S., why would you want to, that sounds un-American, but let's go ahead and say it. Why would you want to come here? If you got universal health care, if you are actually covered and you have maternity and paternity leave and you have cleaner water, better energy solutions, why the frack are you coming to the U.S.? I mean, you just want to see how we live or just want to see the next season of America and what the writers coming with it? You let us know. I'm just saying this is stupid. The fact there is ethical boundaries that are being crossed because, the government wants to look at your social media, which, by the way, if you haven't already noticed, Facebook does actually read your private message and stuff. So if you're in the U.S., there's nothing private about these social media sites. They're giving all your information to the government. Just throwing that out there. But the thing I'm getting at here is, guys, is that it's stupid. It is stupid and unethical and dangerous, and could be grounds to sue. Actually, you don't believe me? Ask Taco right now. But we'll get into him momentarily because he's trying to shoot for the stars with his lawsuits. Which, by the way, I don't know how his lawyers are being paid because, God dang, they've been racking up hours. But it is the wintertime. With that being said, like most things in wintertime, energy costs go up. In this case, with the number of data centers that are being put up, is the reason why we're paying energy costs because Mother Nature decided to go cold on us, or for the simple fact of the matter is we have more data centers in areas that they shouldn't be that are basically siphoning the energy that we're paying more for.
Today's spotlight, with temperatures dropping, many Americans are seeing the cost of heating their homes on the rise. And a new report says that households are paying hundreds of dollars more per year for energy, and that artificial intelligence is to blame. It's partly to blame, at least. ABC's Andrea Fajii has more.
Energy costs are on the rise.
I mean, outrageous prices.
A new report finds that the price of electricity has increased 13% across the country this year.
In the middle of the winter time, I'm paying over $1,000 a month for my Con Ed bill. Moved here from New Jersey, and I wasn't never paying over a few $100s.
Since the beginning of the year, New York's energy costs have gone up more than $550, just behind Missouri's, which increased more than $560, and Massachusetts, which saw the biggest increase, more than $700. Aging infrastructure and regulations get some of the blame. Other factors include artificial intelligence data centers, which can demand as much electricity as a small city, and the end of tax credits for solar, wind, and other renewable energy sources.
Which is really what can be, built in the next few years to meet that growing demand. All of these things are coming together to create this affordability crisis.
The report also warns the cost of natural gas is expected to spike because companies are selling some of their supplies overseas where they fetch higher prices.
When manufacturers or suppliers would prefer to export it because they get a lot more money for it overseas, that's one challenge.
If it's going to go up even more, it's really tough on us.
Our thanks to Andrea for that. And for more,
But it's a point, though. It's a point that he makes. I mean, for the simple fact of the matter is, guys, because if you haven't noticed, I know, like I said, I'm in Tennessee. Unfortunately, in Memphis, Musk was able to get his Colossus AI data center built. And if you guys don't know, data centers, when they're in certain proximities, especially because they can pull massive amounts of energy, although Musk had 8 turbines that were installed over at that Colossus facility for his data mining. I'm not sorry, for his AI Grok. The cities that are downwind are mostly black, and they have been complaining of headaches, issues with water, things of that nature. The list has been piling up, and all since then, data centers have been installed in these near locations. And I keep on calling them data centers. These AI data centers have been installed. But again, it does make sense. Why should the energy cost be going up? Simply put, basically because, some companies were able to get away with having individuals, companies that don't pay taxes or pay nothing in taxes, install these AI data centers. When again, AI data centers have never done what they were supposed to in the first place. At least that's my opinion. But then again, I'm not a fan of AI from a tech person. But I know I said we weren't covering the Taco's presidential address that he had. So we're gonna do some cliff notes. Why? Because NBC News thankfully does it for us. So what they're basically saying that he talked about. He talked about Minnesota's Somali community. Again, this is not surprising about Taco. Taco talks about immigrants that are not white all the time. We keep on bringing up how he could talk about immigrants and the fact that he calls where they come from shithole countries, how he sat there and said that he's criticized diverse groups of people and yet has never been reprimanded for it. Somalians are just his latest target for the fact that he sat there and said that Minnesota was quote unquote a hellhole right now because of Somalians. I don't know how much more Nazi you can get than that. Of course, he talked about the fact that, he also brought up Biden, which again, I called at the beginning of this podcast. He was going to bring up Biden in his speech, talking about, blaming Biden for men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody, for mass migrants taking jobs that he said he rescued back for the American worker. You rescued American jobs back from illegal aliens. Yep. Yeah, we know. Since I know PolitiFact, they look this. PolitiFact is going to have a field day with this one. He claims he got 18 trillion in foreign investments for the U.S. Really? I would love to see what 18 trillion is. Although technically, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that number is a little bit closer to 5 trillion. But again, we'll let PolitiFact take care of that. He also said egg prices are down 82% and everything else is falling rapidly. Bitch, and where? I'm sorry, but I gotta say it. Where? Where are egg prices? Egg prices are down 82% and everything else is falling rapidly. No, it's not. He cites Walmart. Really? Taco, you cite Walmart for your reasons why prices are going down? I wouldn't, because everywhere prices are up and still going up. So again, PolitiFact, have fun with that. Blamed Democrats for healthcare costs. This is the same old song that every Republican administration has always done. Because up until the lower healthcare premiums for all Americans plan, which is basically the concept of a bullshit plan, Republicans have never introduced a healthcare plan. And I dare any conservative that's listening or watching this podcast to prove me wrong. I got money on that. Name the last time a Republican Party introduced a healthcare plan that actually was viable. Into which, of course, Taco would take it and say, well, I have a plan. I have concepts of a plan, which he hasn't said. But as we said at the beginning of this podcast, that pendejo, House Speaker Mike Johnson, they did push forward their lower healthcare premiums for All Americans Act, which is currently heading to the Senate to be voted on. Again, it's bullshit because you're just pointing fingers because you have a plan yourself. And at the same time, you're trying to distract everybody from the Epstein files. He also announced a warrior dividend. I cannot, you know what? This is probably the biggest load of caca. A warrior dividend in honor of our nation's founding in 1776. We are sending every soldier $1,776. Think of that, and the checks are already on the way. Really? The checks in the mail? So apparently, no one deserves it more than our military, and I say congratulations to everybody. He makes it seem, keep in mind, this is on, for all those that, whenever Taco says that, something's on the way, Ask every contractor that's ever worked for him and to see if they got paid. At the same time, ask when he sat there and said, oh, because of Doge, its savings, we're sending every American $5,000. Oh, on top of that, he said he was going to send $2,000 from the dividends of the tariffs that he put in place. So let me get this straight. 5,000, 2,000. Now you're telling our armed soldiers you're going to get $1,776. Who's believing that shit? So again, I just find it interesting. And, he was insisting on economic progress, which of course is not there. And then he says all the success was due to the tariffs. No, your tariffs have actually increased our deficit. It's actually on record that it's one of the largest increases to our deficit by any other president. If Taco can take anything from that, it's the fact that he can sit there and say, I blew up the budget, and I'm going to be the first president that's going to put the United States of America in bankruptcy, because that's how he's dealt with all of his failed businesses. But we're going to leave it there, guys, because again, as I said before, that's just excerpts of all that was said. I'm pretty sure there's going to be more out there, but this is the reason why I decided not to cover it line for line. Just because of the fact that Taco lies. He has not said anything true outside of the fact that he sat there and said, I am basically here for rich people and dictators and racists and Nazis and bigots and xenophobes. Basically the Republican Party. That's who he's here for. So it's not surprising at all that his so-called address was basically going to be his victory lap. Although it really wasn't a victory lap, it's just delusion and denial. But keeping with Taco for a second, because I wanted to get to this in the BBC. Because remember, guys, how I keep on saying that, he's following nothing but the Project 2025 playbook, silent, taking down education, going after mass media, communications, things of that nature. I remember I sat there and said that he sued CBS over an interview that didn't even include him. And that the CEO of Paramount that wanted to get Skydance, that also owns CBS, went to Taco, and Taco pretty much said, this has got to, in so many words, I'm paraphrasing, that in order for him to get Skydance, he had to bend the knee. So what did he do? Stephen Colbert's show is not being renewed. Barry Weiss was installed as the editor-in-chief at CBS News. 60 Minutes got neutered, and they paid him. So basically, CBS is now becoming a pseudo Fox News, which I'll get to momentarily on that piece. But Taco saw that successful. So what did he do? He tried to go after ABC, Jimmy Kimmel. Remember Jimmy Kimmel and the fact he talked about Charlie Kirk and, the outrage, and that Jimmy Kimmel was taken off the air for a few days, and that ABC/Disney was like, wait a second, let's rethink this. That's our ratings. And of course, Jimmy Kimmel was back put in place, but we saw what happened there. Taco also tried to sue the New York Times. The New York Times for defamation. A judge sat there and looked at this, laughed, and threw it out of his courtroom. Why am I saying all this? Taco has realized that if he can sue, and his way of suing is bullying, if he can literally bully sue you, that you may bend the knee if you have something that he wants. Did not work for everybody, but now his ass is going after the BBC for edited clips of his January 6th speech. Sir, you're going after the British Broadcasting Corporation, the British Broadcasting Corporation, for a $10 billion defamation lawsuit against the BBC. Sir, it's the BBC. I don't know if you know about the BBC. The BBC has 0 F's to give. If you've never seen a show from the BBC, their programming, their news, all the above, if you've never seen any of their programming, they literally have 0 F's to give. But the News Corporation for the BBC, outside of award-winning journalism, they make sure all their T's are crossed, their I's are dotted, and they didn't edit spit. But again, this is Taco's way of trying to suppress the media. Now, of course, the BBC, being in the UK, does take on a whole new role. I expect this will be thrown out. It will, because you're expecting the BBC to come to a court in Miami to look at this, and no judge in their right mind really and truly should be looking at this. They should laugh at it. Just like they laughed at your court case against James Comey, just like they laughed at your court case about Letitia James, just as they laughed at many other court cases you brought forward and lost. Because the BBC may do a lot of things, but they are definitely zero F's given. Good luck with that. Move right along, guys. Of course, this is wishful thinking, but I just got to bring this up anyway. There was a vote of impeachment against RFK, the current Secretary of Health and Human Services, and dear God, that man does not need to be any that anti-vaccine conspiracy theorist brain large could always use a lawsuit, needs one good cough pendejo, really should not be in the position that he's in right now. Now, of course, this was brought forward by a Democrat in the House. It's not going to go anywhere. It's a symbolic gesture at best. But yes, we have sat there and covered it. We have sat there and covered RFK many times on this podcast, and the many times he has sat there and endangered people, talking about questioning vaccines for newborns, talking about the use of Tylenol for pregnant moms, although that has been debunked multiple times. And at the same time, this man literally is a walking conspiracy nut that's in an area to where he can do damage. Now, like I said before, it would be great if he was gone, but at the same time, it's not going to happen. Why? Republicans will do a lot of things. They will never impeach their own. But I digress. Moving right along, guys. A couple more stories before we get to our before we get to our feel good segment, because Lord knows we need one. No one needs it this week. CBS did a town hall with the widow of Charlie Kirk, Erica Kirk, who in my mind looks like the evil wicked witch from Wicked that you never see. Let's just say that, of course, CBS editor Barry Weiss, which I talked about, did a town hall with this woman. Now, before I show this clip, and again, I know it's Erica Kirk. I will try to make this as short as humanly possible, but bear with the brother. Erica Kirk is basically, I don't mean to say this in so many words. I will never know. I do not know what it feels like to lose your husband. I'm trying really hard not to finish that sentence because what I was going to say right now was kind of bad. But you lost your husband, you lost your partner in life. You grieved. You had a star-spangled, fireworks-ridden, looks like you got groped by J.D. Vance concert. Although I feel bad because now someone's got to explain to the couch that there's another woman in J.D. Vance's life. But it was just odd. It's odd that she's now taking over Turning Point and the grifting continues. Even more so because now CBS is becoming Fox News, that they decided to have a town hall with Erica Kirk. And just understand there's a reason why I'm not playing a lot of this, but bear with the brother.
Question. It comes from Angel Eduardo. Angel is a senior writer and editor for the civil libertarian group, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, and he writes passionately about issues of free speech. Angel.
Thank you, Barry. Excuse me. Erica, my condolences. A recent survey that we took after Charlie's assassination found that 90% of undergraduates believe to some extent that words can be violence. Another FIRE survey that we took earlier also found that 1/3 of surveyed students believe that using violence to stop disfavored speech can be acceptable, at least in rare cases. What's your response to those numbers? And what would you say to those students in particular?
Well, for the people who say that my husband might have incited violence, I know that was not your question, but I'm going to put a squash on it before anyone else can attach to that. My husband never incited violence. He never once said, go after them because they're saying X, Y, Z and they deserve to die. My husband never once said that, and he never would. What did he say? Come to the front of the line. I'll put my mic down. Tell me why you believe that. Well, that's interesting. I never thought of that. But have you thought of this? People heckling, laughing at them. Stop. It took a lot of courage for them to come up here. Stop doing that. He gave them a microphone. He didn't take away a moment for them to speak back. He gave them a microphone. And what they do, they gave him a bullet in the neck. Totally different. But you have secular revolutionaries that want to come out and say, you can't say that, and I'm going to stop you from saying it. I'm going to. Why? You don't have a conversation. Something as simple as a conversation. And this is what is so fascinating to me. My husband knew that something as simple as having a conversation could change the world. So simple. That is an ancient thing. Come and sit down and have coffee with me. Why do you believe what you believe? 80s and 90s, they were doing this in Congress, then going to have a Subway afterwards. Why don't we do that anymore? Instead, it's violence. Usually one-sided. I'm not going to go there. But you know what's so interesting about my husband's book, the last book he will ever write? It could have been about politics. It could have been about football. It could have been about anything. He was multidimensional. It literally says, stop in the name of God. Stop. Stop the violence. Stop the hate. Have a conversation. Stop. And what he knew in that book was not just so much stop that, take a minute to get off of your phone and realize that we are all human, operating on this broken planet, all sinful, no one's perfect, and we're not getting out of here alive. But what he knew in that book was the balancing factor of communication. You cannot communicate with someone if you're not at peace with yourself. So he went on campus talking to a kid. They're screaming at him, screaming. Does he scream back? Not once. He sits there. And you know what he's thinking? It's in that book. Maybe you need to take a few hours. Get off your phone. Go for a walk in nature. Go sit and have a coffee. Go and tell your mother you love her. Go do something that is beautiful and healing instead of trying to tear something down that you did not build. That's my thought on that.
We're going to talk about the book in a little bit, but I want to pick up on a theme that you've now hit on twice, which is the idea that.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there because I'm going to be petty. And I say I'm going to be petty because you're not going to sit there and tell me. You're not going to sit there and tell me. Well, number one, she's obviously on something because, God, them pupils are dilated as shit. That also being said, guys, this is CBS trying to rebrand Charlie Kirk. Now, I've never been one to talk ill of the dead, but I'm gonna have to call it what it is. This is rebranding, ladies and gentlemen, because what did she try to say? Charlie never turned away people. Charlie talked to everybody. Of course, your husband talked to everybody. You want to know why your husband talked to everybody? Because that's his platform. That was his grift. His YouTube videos are full of them. I have this opinion. Come change my mind. I don't think women should vote. Come change my mind. I don't think we should have DEI. Come change my mind. MLK was not a nice person. Come change my mind. He rage baited folks to come talk to him. He rage baited folks. And they would come and talk. Oh, well, they were screaming at him. Really? They were screaming at him? Or is the fact that Charlie Kirk wasn't intentioning on debating or listening? He wanted sound bites. He wanted clips. He wanted what he got. And what did he build? He built his platform out of hate, out of bigotry, and already a self-described nationalist. He sat there and said, Black women do not have the critical thinking to the position of a white man. That's why you need DEI. He said MLK was not a great man, and that the civil rights were not needed. He also sat there and said the Democratic women were always going to die alone. And I can keep going down the list of everything this man has said. Hell, I've got an episode on How the Frack Got Here where it's literally in his own words. that everything that I found, which of course is on that, which actually back on the YouTube page, it's still up there for the world to see. I said Charlie Kirk in his own words, because I sat there and said it on that podcast. I will sit there and say it here. Your words will outlive you. And when people think of you, they're going to go to your words. So I'm not going to show you this. Like I said, it's 49 minutes long. It was the viewers, the ratings went in the tank because no one wants to see Erica Kirk except conservatives and maybe JD Vance. But I'm sorry, the eyes and everything like that, it's like the Wicked Witch of the West. I'm like, ugh. At the same time, she's definitely on something. You can tell, because I'm not trying to accuse. I'm just saying I know dilated pupils when I see them. She damn near had anime eyes. But the thing that I'm getting at here, guys, with that is that this is CBS now doing a rebranding. And because they're doing a rebranding, they're trying to make it seem like Charlie Kirk was this saint. He wasn't a saint. He was a dick. He was a pendejo. He was a nationalist. He was a racist. He was a Nazi. He grifted off hate. And that grift may have led to the monster that did him in. I'll say it. That hate that he had, that he grifted on, that he made a platform on, that he created Turning Point on, that his wife benefited from and is still benefiting from it. The grift has to continue. Because here's the thing, here's a crazy part about hatred, about groups that hate. They are idiots and full of money and will give them to somebody if they ask nicely. Don't believe me? Look at Charlie Kirk, look at Officer Tate, look at the Hodge twins, look at Candace Owens, look at Ben Shapiro, look at Jesse Peterson, look at everybody at Fox News, and then look at the White House. They grifted off the hate of idiots and they fleece the flock, and they'll willingly give them money with a smile on their face thinking you own the libs. Erica Kirk has now jumped on the grifting train. Woo woo. That's all I'm saying. But the last one I do got, guys, before we do get to our feel good segment, because
tonight a local church.
Quiet you. So we do, before we get to our feel good segment, guys, we do have one more story to talk about. And again, it is Christmas. And I got to bring this up because as we are in the Christmas season, nativity scenes, you're going to see them everywhere, right? It's a common occurrence. It happens. However, one church decided to be real honest about the nativity scene, and that's causing a little bit of a problem. I don't think it's a problem. I think it's reflecting our situation and our reality right now. But you be the judge.
Tonight, a local church is getting a lot of attention because of its nativity scene. Boston 25 News reporter Daniel Coates is live in Dedham. And Daniel, something very specific is replacing baby Jesus.
Yeah, and what's being replaced is causing a whole lot of outrage here in Dedham. I'll give you a live look. We're outside of St. Susanna's. And if you look at that nativity scene, you might notice that you don't see baby Jesus or the Holy Family. That says ICE was here, drawing a lot of eyeballs across town.
We have a case here of a dissident priest who has a long history of these kind of crackpot publicity stunts.
C.J. Doyle, the executive director of the state's Catholic Action League, said he was called by a St. Susanna parishioner over the weekend about this nativity scene.
He's politicizing Christmas. He's exploiting the Holy Family. He's using his position as the pastor of a Catholic parish to promote his left-wing political ideology.
We thought that this was a good way to show the dynamic of what's going on in the world today.
Father Stephen Gisoma has been the pastor at the church for 24 years, well known for making waves with his nativity scene over the last decade. 1 year showing mass shooting deaths, another flooded from global warming, and in 2018 was Jesus caged in, another statement on immigration.
This is a sense I would hope that all churches would take. I mean, we should be a welcoming community.
It's entirely inappropriate for a Catholic priest to do this. I think it would make any faithful Catholic mad to see the Holy Family trivialized and politicized like this.
Below the sign reads, "The Holy Family is safe in the sanctuary of our church," and a loose hotline to call if you see ICE.
Is this not obstruction of justice they're really pushing here? If he doesn't really believe in the Catholic religion or thinks the Catholic Church is simply a vehicle for political activism, perhaps he should find new employment.
Father Gisoma said this is his way of holding a mirror to the world for reflection each holiday season.
I've got a couple of pushbacks from total strangers was called a murderer yesterday, someone who is in need of repentance. What we celebrate at Christmas is the peace that Christ brought into the world. It's right here, it's right now.
This nativity scene in Dedham is all lit up as we head into Monday evening. We've still had a lot of people driving by feeling one way or another. They're still taking pictures, and it's still drawing a lot of attention. And we have reached out to the Archdiocese of Boston. They say that they are aware, and we're still waiting for comment from them. On scene in Dedham.
All I can sit there and say is, when's the next service and how soon can I get to Boston? I see no problem with that. I don't, because I love the fact and look, I try to avoid religious talk sometimes because, again, some folks feel a little sensitive about it. Some of them are systemically hardwired. I will say this. What was wrong with the fact of a priest showing the world? He said, I want to show the world a mirror. Because for all those that don't remember, there are no white people in the Bible. I feel like we gotta keep reminding folks. You do realize that if you really want to be honest, there are no white people in the Bible. The Jesus that you keep seeing on these fans and whatnot, because again, if you follow the Bible, you know, skin of bronze, hair like sheep's wool, guy rode with 12 people. I only know 2 groups of people. It ain't white. But that being said, though, so what does a church reflect the world as we're in? Because it is not ICE and the modern day Gestapo practically everywhere, picking up innocent immigrants, you know, detaining anybody that doesn't look American according to them, will literally pull kids out of schools, out of playgrounds, out of colleges, out of cars, parents just picking up or trying to go to work. Is that nativity scene not the example of what America is right now? And I'm sorry my whole thing is I don't feel for those that feel offended, because if you feel offended by that nativity sign of it saying ICE was here and that the Holy Family is within the sanctuary of the church, and you feel offended, how dare you bring politics into this? You can't really call yourself religious or Christian or Catholic. Because isn't the kind of the big thing about both those 2 groups is acceptance? Yeah. But I'm pretty sure like I said before, I don't really catch it from a lot of people because they've learned with me, you don't really want to talk about acceptance if you're seeing holier than thou, but you're happy that ICE is picking up people. Yeah, you wouldn't want to talk to me. But there is another reason why I bring that story up outside of the fact that it is ludicrous and stupid to think that folks get offended by that when he's just, like the priest said, I'm showing a mirror to the world. And if you don't like what you see, don't be mad at me. It sounds like a you problem. But Fox News, in all their usual BS, decided to cover the story as well. And I know it's Fox News. Just bear with a brother.
It's Friday, and that means it's time for Friday Follies. And for that, we turn to Fox News contributor Raymond Arroyo. Raymond, great to see you. It seems that left-wing Christians are using Christmas to ply their ideology. How shocking.
Laura, it's worse than that. I'm instituting a new segment tonight. This is my first Christmas terrorism alert, okay? First up, at St. Susanna, a Catholic church in the Boston suburbs, Pastor Stephen Hosoma set up an outdoor nativity with an empty manger and the sign that reads, ICE was here. Father Hosoma is thrilled with his display.
We thought that this was a good way to show the dynamic of what's going on in the world today. We got a couple of pushbacks from total strangers. It was called a murderer yesterday, someone who is in need of repentance. What we celebrate at Christmas is the peace that Christ brought into the world. It's right here, it's right now.
Actually, we're not celebrating the peace Christ brought to the world, Laura. Christians celebrate the Savior God brought to the world, the coming of the Christ child. And how dare he edit him out of this nativity scene? Kind of undermines the entire reason for a nativity scene. And, I'm always a little wary when a priest shows up without a collar. It's always a tell.
No, that's always, it's like the nuns, the polyester nuns, God bless them, who don't wear the habits. I like the habits. That's just me. I like the habits. Sorry, I like the habits. I like the collar. I want it all. Well, button down, buttoned up. Raymond, that's how I like it. All right, Raymond, the locals are not taking this lying down, however.
He's politicizing Christmas. He's exploiting the Holy Family. He's using his position as the pastor of a Catholic parish to promote his left-wing political ideology. It's entirely inappropriate for a Catholic priest to do this.
There's no room at the inn for the faithful, Laura. You know, they're forced away. It's only this political grandstanding. It's a bad look, particularly at Christmas time.
All I can sit there and say is it must be a slow day at Fox News. It must be. Because number one, Laura Ingraham is a douchebag and also a bitch, but good Lord, how much more Botox can you inject in your forehead, lady? At the same time, it is amazing to me that they always do this. The war on Christians, the war on Christmas. It's always something. I'm like, really? The fact that one Catholic priest decided to show the world what it looks like, show the U.S. what it looks like, and now all you so-called Christians and Catholics get your shit in a bunch because he pretty much told the truth that if the nativity did happen in this day and age, ICE would be picking up Joseph and Mary. The three wise men would have been deducted, would have been picked up long before they got to the manger. And oh yeah, Jesus, and oh yeah, there was no white people in the Bible. Who are you going to relate to? So it is amazing to me that in this season where we reflect, as we reflect on the year and giving and things of that nature, it's amazing to me that one Catholic priest is doing the one thing that most religions would expect you to do, while these so-called hypocrites want to criticize and judge, knowing full well they're just pretty much assholes themselves. But I expect that from Fox News. But again, if I was in Boston, I would. Look, I'm not Catholic. If I was in Boston, I'd go to that dude's church just off the fact that he has that nativity scene up. But again, that's just me because ICE is the modern day Gestapo, and of course, unfortunately, they've just been effing empowered. But that being said, guys, we are going to move on to our feel good segment because usually how the fact we got here, we do cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom. Sometimes maybe use faith humanity, but hey, it's Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday. We want to leave you guys out in some good positive vibes, and hopefully this next story will do just that, about a bus driver that is wanting to just do something nice and kind for her riders.
Here, I'm putting my little baby's hats up here. I'm not for selling. I don't want to do that. I just want to knit for people to see the smile on their face when they get it. I just hope they take away that somebody loves them. And that's all. That they know that if they're not being loved at home, they're going to get on this bus in the morning and they're going to get a good morning and love, and they always know they can always talk to me about anything. I want them to be safe. I just love my kids. And then they gave me all these. So my babies gave me all these thank you letters. So it's like, oh my God, y'all. And then they put all that they love me and I'm the best bus driver ever. And I thought, oh my God, this is awesome. My babies love me.
Now, I thought that was pretty freaking cool, honestly. Just for the simple fact of the matter, that woman did not ask for anything. And that is a school bus driver that basically knits hats for the students to stay warm during the winter months. Doesn't ask for money, just wants to make sure the kids are covered. And they give her thank you notes, things of that nature. And I thought that was sweet because, again, that's what I'm talking about when I say kindness. You know, kindness can be anything. It doesn't always have to be monetary. It's the fact that you're doing something for somebody else just to be able to help and have an impact. That is a beautiful thing. At the same time, that woman, Miss Hutcherson is her name. Hopefully she will definitely get a lot more than that. But I just like the fact of just seeing the fact that folks will do for others as they can with whatever they can, even if it's as simple as knitting a hat. Like I said, beautiful thing. That's going to do it for this podcast, guys. Thank you all for liking, for watching, for letting people know this is live. I appreciate that. Shameless plug before we do get out of here, folks. Shout out to Always Press Record TV. Why? Because our show, How the Frack Got Here, can be seen on the app. Definitely check out APR TV on the Roku channel or Amazon Fire TV. As always, with other shows out there as well on the APR TV app. You will not be disappointed. Also, blurredstation.com, a streaming channel for us, by us, with content. And trust me, they got a crap load of content. Movies, television, anime, you name it, it's there. $10.99 a month to stream Blur Station. Definitely check it out at blurredstation.com, and Blur Station can be streamed on all smart devices. Check it out. Also, check us out on YouTube at How the Frack We Got Here. Literally, How the Frack We Got Here. Type that in as one whole name, and of course, our page will show up. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button. Anytime that we do have something that does go live or do have a new show uploaded, you can definitely find it there. But definitely keep it up, guys, because without you, this show would not exist. So definitely appreciate it and continue to pass it on. Also, my other show, the Get Bit Podcast, a podcast for video games, for nerds and blurs, along with myself, my other cohorts on there, Joe Tonello, and of course, Fara TV. Definitely check us out every Friday, 8:30-ish, as we go over the week of news, of video gaming, of anime, cartoons, you name it. If it's fun, we talk about it, but definitely check us out there. Also, guys, check out my other podcasting compadres. Check out Blurred's Eye View, which usually every Tuesday and Thursday. We will not be on this Thursday. We will actually have a new episode. Last episode will be this upcoming Tuesday of next week. Also, check out Roomful of Blurred. She usually goes live every Sunday at about 6:30 Eastern, as she covers comic books, things of that nature. Check out Geek by Heart, as she's returning back. She and her husband are returning back with movie reviews and video game playthroughs. Check out Show Quote. Check out Navy Montel Birdcon Speaks, also on YouTube, as he goes live every Sunday as well. And also check out Tafari TV, as he's almost going live almost every other day. And of course, Lore of the Culture, as well, as he is now covering things from comic pools of that nature. We are all available, guys, on YouTube, especially on all social sites. Definitely like us, follow us, share us. We appreciate that. And finally, myself. Oh, excuse me, that was Black _ Spartan 615 on the socials. That is my personal social. You can like and follow me there. I usually talk to everybody. Just don't make it weird. I don't want to get in the habit of blocking people. As I said before, guys, it is the holiday season. Next week being Christmas. We are going to be off for next week for How the Frack We Got Here. I will say this, because we will return the day before New Year's. Well, it might be a recorded episode, but we will have our New Year's in review the week after Christmas. But with that being said, that we're not going to be here next week, guys, I will say this. May you have a happy Hanukkah, happy Festivus for the rest of us. Have a Merry Christmas, have a happy Kwanzaa, or whatever you celebrate or not celebrate. Hopefully you'll be able to enjoy it with your loved ones and friends. I know right now this time of year may not be particularly good for a lot of people, but check on your friends. Call and text, see how they're doing. Check on your mental. Keep your mental. Protect your mental. Protect your strength. At the same time, don't doom scroll. Go outside and go enjoy the world. Try to avoid holiday. Try to avoid malls right now, because again, shopping, and also if it doesn't deserve a gift this year, don't do it. Like, here's my thing. If you want to give a gift, cool. If you want to give your time, cool. If you want to be able to give your ability, to be able to volunteer somewhere, also cool. The year is not always about a gift. It's what you can do to make an impact on somebody's life. That's what it should be. Now, don't get me wrong. If you want to give a gift, give it from the heart. It doesn't always got to be monetary. It doesn't have to come with a plug. It doesn't have to come with batteries. It doesn't have to come from a wireless store. I know I'm just thinking off my top of my head. I'm not being specific. But what I'm getting at is, guys, right now the gift is just making sure that we're all okay. Because right now we are in an area of uncertainty. We are in an area to where it just feels like a lot of us just need something to get through it. I am just saying, check on your people, spend time with them, go out there and do something good for the world. Just like the bus driver out there. Sometimes it's as simple as making a hat to make sure that somebody stays warm can be the easiest act of kindness you can do, because that's what we need in this world. One random act of freaking kindness, because if you can make somebody's life better, whether it's a moment, a day, or a lifetime, the world would honestly be a better place. Just saying. Also, guys, like I said before, you'll probably see a pre-recorded episode for our New Year's Eve in review. Outside that, I do want to thank you guys. I do want to take this last opportunity to thank you guys for all those that have watched this show. for the year, that have liked, that have commented, that have came up to me and said you loved it. I appreciate it. Again, we are just trying to move forward. We're trying to make this bigger. The message is still the same as far as informing people is what we're trying to get at. So hopefully we have done just that. Maybe you laugh a little bit. So I do apologize for a little bit of profanity. I will not apologize for calling Kristi Noem a bitch. I will not apologize for calling Marsha Blackburn a bitch. I will not apologize for calling Laura Ingraham a bitch. That's 3 B's. I will not apologize for all that. But outside that, guys, please enjoy yourselves this holiday weekend. Please don't stress yourself trying not to get presents. And honestly, relax. The new year's coming up. Whatever resolutions that you may have or just trying to figure out your way, take the time. It'll be okay. And breathe. And as my friend Lord the Culture would say, take that PTO, breathe, and let that shit go. The last thing I'll say about the Frack we got here, it's all about staying informed. We are not trying to reinvent the wheel. We are simply giving you all the information, allowing you to make up your own mind, but we do provide a perspective that goes along with it. We do better society once we're informed. We're progressive. We move forward. We try to right the wrongs of our past and making decisions now that we should have done back then, like electing our first Black woman to the Supreme Court, electing our first Black woman as a Federal Reserve governor, electing, hopefully, our first Black woman of Texas as a U.S. senator, and maybe one day electing our first Black woman be called Madam President. All great things. We don't learn from history. We are doomed to repeat it. That's what we keep asking ourselves. Why does everything go about our paycheck? Why are we electing different politicians but still the same old game in Congress? And most importantly, how the Frack we got here. Thank you all for watching, guys. Please take care of yourselves and each other, and I promise we will get through this. Live long and prosper, guys. I am out. Enjoy the holidays. We'll see you back for our New Year's Eve review the week after Christmas. Peace.